joins us right now. Congressman Andrew Clyde from the great state of Georgia. Congressman, great to have you on the show.
Well, John, thank you very much. Amanda, great to be with you on your show this evening.
This was an amazing weekend, not just for the optics and the history and all the passionate debate, but at the end of the day, when you look at the rules package, Americans have so much more transparency, so much more accountability than they've had in a very long time. I don't think I've seen rules like this, and since maybe the time when Newt Gingrich was the last time there was this sort of people's control of the people's institution. How important a victory was this for the American public?
I think this was a absolutely consequential victory for the American people. It was necessary. We saw the moment. We took the moment. This, as you said, is a set of rules that has not been seen in Congress for decades, and I think it will bring fundamental, transformational accountability to the government. We all know that Washington, D.C. has been broken for a long time. And I came here to fix it. The rest of us came here to fix it. And that's, I think, what we're doing with this rules package and holding the Speaker and leadership accountable to make sure they do what they're supposed to do according to the Constitution. And I'm really excited about it. I think we're going to do great things going forward in this Congress. It was a bit of a rocky start, but, you know, that's the way a constitutional republic works. And it works for the American people. And that's what we did. We gave better representation to the American people through this rules package.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yes, sir. And I think that what transpired and throughout the whole process, what emerged to me was a very silver lining, which is that you have people, different factions with differing opinions within the Republican Party who are willing to stand up for what they believe in, as opposed to the other side of the aisle where we have seen for cycle after cycle after cycle, the speakership race is not really even a race. It's just decided. Regarding these rules packages and what I think a lot of Americans want to see as a culture shift, not just rules change and mood change, but a cultural shift in Congress. What are some of those main bullet points that you want to tackle first?
Oh, sure. Number one being the fact that we have a single subject bills now and amendments that must be germane to the subject. So we're not going to have any more omnibuses. You know, those terrible things that have tremendous earmarks in them that are thousands of pages long. That's just not going to happen anymore. Then we've got a mandatory minimum of 72 hours before a bill can come to the floor after its final text is released. So members actually have the opportunity to read and debate what's in that bill. Then we've got regular order, which means every bill that goes to the floor has to go through the committee process, be read and debated in committee, and amendments available in committee as well. I mean, these are just transformational things for Congress. And then we've got the amazing church committee that's in this set of rules, or church style committee that's going to go after the weaponizing of federal agencies against American citizens. I'm really excited about that part of it. I think that's going to just bring the claws back in from the federal government, and it will allow people, regular American citizens, to no longer have a government that is using the commercial sector as a proxy to deny First Amendment constitutional rights. So this is a great rules package. I'm looking forward to voting on it tonight and seeing it successfully cross the finish line. And I'll tell you one last thing. I have seen a speaker in Kevin McCarthy fight. You know, his last 4 words of his acceptance speech was, "I don't give up." And, you know, we saw him fight through 15 vote series. You know, I think that's going to terrify the White House and the Senate, because we have a speaker now that has shown he knows how to fight, and he's going to fight for us.
Yeah, no doubt. His mettle was definitely shown on display for all of us to see. Congressman, I want to talk a little bit about the border. The president went down there. Again, it was an optics event. It really has no real effect on the crisis affecting our border. A lot of people say, hey, this is a multifaceted system. The president doesn't enforce the law. The Homeland Security Department doesn't, keeps the border open, doesn't allow the Customs, Border, and Patrol agents to do their job. And then there's a third layer of this, nonprofits collecting lots of federal money often, and they're involved in taking the illegal aliens who get into the country and trafficking them inside. Does the new Congress have some plans to address the NGOs that are involved in that part of the illegal immigration chain?
Well, we certainly have plans to address the border crisis, and that is the Texas border plan is going to come up for a vote. That is in our rules as one of the requirements. And then you are right about these nonprofits like Family Endeavors, for example, who had a single source contract, a non-bid contract initially for $86 million, and then the next second contract was over $500 million. These are things that the Oversight Committee has not really been able to go after because we were not in the majority. We are going to go after these sorts of things, and I'm really looking forward to that as well, because we are going to expose what the Biden administration is doing to damage the security of the American people. Because if you don't have border security, you do not have national security. And President Biden owns every bit of it. I was glad that he went to the border. Well, as you said earlier, it got near the border this weekend. But what he really saw, I think, was just a whitewashed scene. He didn't really even get to see what was going on there. But I think that was probably intentional. But it's amazing that just a majority party electing a speaker can force the president to do something he hadn't done in 50 years, and that is actually go to the border.
Great point.
Yes, sir. Congressman, I wanted to ask you about something that a lot of folks are already shuddering over the thought of. Just a little over 3 months from now, we've got tax day. I don't think COVID is going to push back that deadline. But regarding these 87,000 IRS agents, it seems to me that one of the culture shifts on the Republican side of the aisle with you in the majority is that y'all are going to be, I don't want to say exploiting, utilizing in a creative manner parliamentary procedures that can be shifted a little, things like the Holman Rule. Is that something you guys are ready to implement right away, day one?
On day one, the Holman Rule is a phenomenal rule. Again, that's in our rules package. What the Holman Rule does is it allows Congress to go and to reduce the funding of an agency, and it is so granular that it can actually go down to the individual job description of that agency, and we can defund that agency at the federal employee level. So the Holman Rule is going to be a great tool to use during this particular Congress. And I'm looking forward tonight to voting to defund the 87,000 IRS agents.
Yeah, a lot of people are cheering that as one of the first actions of this new Congress. Congressman, you have been a champion of liberty for a long time, and you speak eloquently of the need to protect the core liberties of this country. We see more and more evidence of the censorship that's gone on. The Homeland Security Department, the White House. New documents came out this week and showing the Biden White House putting pressure on big tech companies. What are some of the solutions that you think Congress will be able to impose to restore the assurance that our government's not going to go out and try to squash the opinions of everyday Americans in the big tech space?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because just last month I introduced what is called the Free Speech Defense Act, and that would eliminate the ability of the federal government to work through these particular media companies, these big tech companies like Google and Facebook and Twitter, as a proxy to eliminate the First Amendment rights of American citizens, because the government can't do it per the Constitution, and they cannot also do it as a proxy, working with these companies to do it by proxy. And that's what this particular piece of legislation would do. I'm looking forward to introducing it again in the 118th, and maybe we can get it across the finish line in this Congress.
Yeah, important stuff.
Congressman, before we let you go, we got to talk about China and COVID, and I know Republicans, many of you have expressed interest in digging into the origins of that, and not necessarily just Anthony Fauci and his support of gain-of-function research, but who are some of the other major players who you want answers from as far as COVID?
Well, I think our intelligence agencies need to pipe up and tell us what they know. What have they been keeping secret about COVID? We certainly are going to be interviewing and deposing Anthony Fauci, and we are certainly going to do the very best in our ability to find what the actual source of COVID was. Was it weaponized in a Wuhan lab, or where? Where did it come from? You know, I think that most of us believe that, but we're going to figure out the exact origins of COVID and hold China responsible for it too, because that's what needs to happen.
So we got about 10 seconds left. Just real quickly, declassifying documents will be an important part of that, won't it?
Yes, it will. It absolutely will. The American people need to know exactly what happened.